vision is that none are complacent. My vision is that we as a church and people in general would come back to reality. Reality is that God is real. He's not a happy thought or a Sunday ritual. He's a real God who is really personal. Reality is that God created us to worship him and to have a relationship with him. We have to come back to that. He died on a cross for that relationship, a cross that has become infamous and misunderstood. Complacency has become the disposition of many people in the church. They are content, self-satisfied, smug, and unconcerned. We have become complacent in our relationship with God. We would rather be religious than relational. We walk a straight line Sundays and Wednesdays, then search for loopholes the other 5 days. And because of the example set by complacent Christians in leadership, others don't know any better. Zechariah 7:4-6 says, God of the angel armies gave me this message for them, for all the people, and for all the priests. When you held days of fasting every 5th and 7th month, all these 70 years, were you doing it for me? And when you held feasts, was that for me? Hardly. You're interested in religion. I'm interested in people. Sometimes we show up for church because it's the right thing to do. And every Sunday we have an adventure in missing the point. But complacency is more than just being lukewarm. We're content with where God's place is in our lives, and it's not first. It's like what Pastor John talked to us about during morning devotional once. He said, don't become so familiar with God's presence that you lose the awe factor of God and who he is. Don't become so content with knowing God the amount that we do right now. But it works for us. We have good lives, and with what we feel is no strong need to change the way things are, we go about our week, then show up on Sunday. God's place in our lives doesn't need to change because it's more convenient if it doesn't. Colin Powell once said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, is the slogan of the complacent, the arrogant, and the scared. It's an excuse for inaction, a call to non-arms. We've had an if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality when it comes to God and relationship with him. We've become complacent. We've responded to a call to non-arms and contently sit in our pews because it's just what we do. If complacency is the problem, then there's got to be a solution on the other end, right? But if I'm going to be honest, I don't have an exact or specific step-by-step problem-solving bullet point theory. I can't fix the problem, but I'm going to try to do what I can. The thing is, people have to change. It's a choice, not a forced compliance. My vision is that people won't be complacent in their relationship with God, and I think we can see it happen if we first set the example, if we change. We need to be willing to make God a part of our lives, all of it. But we also need to be willing to get involved with other people's lives and get into the rough stuff. I need to be willing. Sometimes helping someone requires you to dig deep and come up a little dirty. Sometimes it's really inconvenient. But we have to do something. Leonardo da Vinci once said, I've been impressed with the urgency of doing. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Being willing is not enough, we must do. The opposite of complacency is having a sense of urgency. It's being moved to do something. Some can blame lack of knowledge or even fear for the cause or reason that our friendship with God has morphed into a building with titles, religious rules, and a place where we can feel we've accomplished our Cub Scout good deed of the day. Some can also use those same excuses for the reason they walked away from God altogether. Some people fear change. Some people fear having the realization of their need for change. Once you've been given truth, you get to decide what to do with it. My vision is a prayer. My vision is people shaking off complacency and stepping into a new way of thinking. It's youth in everyone of different ages actually knowing God, knowing his love, and knowing it's not all fake and emotional. A few months ago, I was in a church service where, for lack of a better way of describing it, God showed up. He really touched people. It was a morning spent in the presence of the Lord, just worshiping and praying. It was the first time, I think, in a long time that the congregation had experienced that. Afterward, a friend of mine said, no, that's what church is supposed to be. And she was right. I saw part of my vision actually happening. At a youth service, the youth group was told about a relationship with Jesus and how it's not about it being on their terms or about churchy religious guidelines. I saw a majority of the group respond. My vision is students hearing about how there's an actual friendship with our Creator and not just a list of religious rules to follow. My vision is people finding out there's more. It's someone coming to know and trust God. It's the kid flipping burgers at McDonald's, all day trying to save money for college, whose best friend is his CD player, and he wishes that someone would have at least smiled at him today. My vision is that kid finding out that God is real, and he has a plan for his life. He's had one all along. It's the kids whose lives are run by schedules and sports, putting God in his right place in their priorities. My vision is men and women not being content with being clueless. It's probably useless to hope for the world, but why not? My vision is that none are complacent. So my question is this: when? When are we going to shake off complacency? When are we going to get real with God? And when are we going to actually do something? It needs to be answered with a heartfelt now. It's time for change right now. In our own personal lives right now, it's time to take a relationship with God seriously. And a relationship with him doesn't mean we continue living the way that we always have, and then we just get to add another person to our list of people we communicate with. No, when you finally catch this whole God thing, what it's really about, you see the change that needs to be made. The Lord shows, but he also helps. I'm still catching on, but I do know my God. And because of that, I want nothing more than to please him. It's a hard change, and the time for it is now. But how long are we going to wait? And why? Time is passing by, and we are experiencing life without God in it like he could be. We don't even realize it. Why wait until later? Why not right now? And this is my vow. I'm stepping out and setting an example. I'm not going to be complacent. I'm not going to show up with a spoon, but with a shovel. I want to know you more, God, and to keep digging deeper in this relationship that I have with you. I don't want to back down from something you need me to do because of fear. I will persevere through my fears and worries because knowing you better is more important to me. I have made up my mind to center my life around you and with a desire to please you, not dwelling on past failures and messes I've made. Philippians 3:12-14 says, I'm not saying that I have this all together or that I have it made, but I am well on my way, reaching out for Christ who has so wondrously reached out for me. Friends, don't get me wrong. By no means do I count myself an expert in all this, but I've got my eye on the goal, where God is beckoning us onward to Jesus. I'm off and running, and I'm not turning back. Thank you. Real quick, thank my sister Mariah for helping me make my handouts, because I have not been able to get around to doing them, and I called her this week and I was like, can you please help me? And she did, and so I'd just like to thank her for that, and I think she did a wonderful job on the bookmark, so thank you.